All right, welcome to the Shopify Happy Hour, where every episode you will hear from Shopify founders, operators, and experts on growth marketing strategies, lessons learned from the trenches, and other nuggets of e-commerce wisdom shared over a drink each episode. Today, I'd like to welcome Greg Rollett, head of brand growth at Grommet and an Emmy Award-winning producer. Greg helps makers, inventors, and e-commerce brands go from undiscovered to unstoppable. Greg, welcome.
And I am so happy to be here. Happy hour.
There we go. I love it. I love it. Well, that's it. Well, let's kick it off. What are you drinking? What do you have going on? I know you're a coffee guy, so let's
So I told you I usually do cups and pups, but I am out. So my wife picked up these today. So I'm not a drinker. I'm a coffee drinker. So these are some high brew Nitro caramel cold brew. So it's we're recording this later in the afternoon, but I have a full night of 2 baseball practices after this. And so I will be needing all the caffeine that I can get to get through the end of the day today.
That's awesome. So is your coffee of choice, is it cold brew when you're drinking coffee?
Yeah, I'm cold brew like 99% of the time. I try to stay away from the milks, even the alternative milks. Like, it's crazy. You see like the barista, he pours like this much espresso and then there's like this much milk. And I'm like, that's probably, let's just give me the good stuff. Like, just inject the caffeine right into my veins.
Yeah, it's like a lot of Starbucks now. They're more like sugar. It's pure sugar with like a little bit of coffee.
Exactly.
Well, Nitro is great. I remember the first time I had Nitro coffee years back where it sort of changed my coffee world. For anybody, if I ever am chatting with somebody who wants to move from a creamy, sugary coffee and they want to start drinking black, I always recommend Nitro because Nitro is creamy. It adds a little bit of sweetness, but there's no extra calories from it. So it's a nice way to dive into the world of coffee.
Yeah, there's a guy on Instagram, my favorite Instagram coffee guy. His name is Macro Barista, and he's a former Starbucks barista, but now he just makes all these cold brew coffees at like Starbucks and Dunkin' and Barney's and like all your major, and he just shows you how to make all these cold brews, but macro friendly. So, all right, if you want like a vanilla cold brew, like here's how to do it with the sugar-free vanilla, the sugar, like, and I'm like, oh my God, like every day there's just a mouth-watering cold brew to try. So that's he's my go-to whenever I walk into a Dunkin' or Starbucks, and I literally have the app up and I'm just like, whatever this guy said, I want it that way.
That is great. I got to check him out. I'm all about, I'm a bit of a coffee snob, so I love anything like that. So I took your inspiration with coffee, same thing. So it's a little bit later in the day. And if I was going to drink straight cold brew right now, I wouldn't sleep till tomorrow. So I'm kind of meeting in the middle. I actually just found, I love coffee. I'm kind of a coffee snob. But the challenge with coffee is like, if you drink too much, you get jittery or you have trouble sleeping. Like I know for me, the caffeine sensitivity can be a thing. And I'm always trying to level up my focus and just attention throughout the day. So I've been diving down the world of nootropics and like coffee alternatives. And my most recent purchase, I just got this last week. By the way, none of this stuff is endorsed or, promoted. We're just talking products. It's called Everyday Dose. Just started taking it a couple weeks ago. It's sort of like instant coffee, but they add some goodies. So I'll read a quick little thing from the package. And it says, Everyday Dose drastically builds on the benefits of regular coffee with added supplements. Our next-gen coffee provides functional mushrooms, nootropics, and collagen protein to give you calmer energy and sharper focus with added gut, brain, and immune support so that you feel balanced and find your flow. The taste better than your baristas with 80% less caffeine than regular coffee, no crash, no jitters, and no coffee bloat. Welcome to the future of coffee. Now, I will say, there is a nice little focus benefit I get from this. It's not better than really good coffee. So if you're like super into like, roasting your own beans and doing all that stuff, this isn't going to compete, but it's certainly much better than regular instant coffee. And there is some nice focus benefits with it, and also like less jitters because there's just less caffeine. So later in the day, this is pretty nice.
Yeah, I love it. So we got these guys. They're actually Everyday Dose. They're on Grommet, which is super cool. So they're one of the brands that we've launched. Super cool guys, and I agree with you. Like I like to be as honest as I can. Of like, if you're looking for that coffee cold brew like jolt of like, it's not that, but it's smooth. It's a good taste. It's a good afternoon. 2-3 o'clock. Like I don't need the full IV of caffeine, but you want that end of the day energy kind of focus, like lock in. It's pretty good stuff.
Nice. I had no idea they were a Grommet brand, so that's awesome. Well, that's a good transition. So first of all, thanks for inspiring me to get more focused late in the day. And instead of having a beer and getting tired, a little extra energy is a good thing because I got some stuff going on later on as well. So let's start talking marketing and e-commerce. I definitely want to get into Grommet and talk about everything around that because I think the platform is super cool. We've had different clients that are on the platform, and we actually got some feedback from one of our more recent clients about it that I'll share with you later on. But before we get into any of that, doing some research for the podcast and just looking up your bio, Emmy award-winning producer. Tell us the story about that.
Yeah, so I'll go a little even further than that because it makes it even more fun and interesting because it is happy hour. Is in high school, my senior year, they let me out of school at like noon every day to start a business. And I started a record label because I loved all of the hip hop moguls at the time, like Puffy and Bad Boy and Dr. Dre and Cash Money Records and No Limit Records. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like, you sign yourself as your favorite artist, and then you just sign all your friends. And so that's what I tried to do. And I released my first album when I was in high school. We sold thousands of copies at like Friday night parties and things like that. It was awesome. Did the whole music thing for a really long time and got out of that world and started helping business owners do all the things that we did in the music world, which was we were big on MySpace. We had millions of fans and followers there, and businesses were like, how do we do that? And this is pre-Facebook, this is pre-Shopify, like all of that stuff. Just started doing a lot of video work and media work, helping business owners to grow their businesses, and led me to a former business partner of mine, Nick Nanton, and we traveled the world doing documentaries and high-end media for all kinds of celebrities and influencers and experts and nonprofits. And so the Emmy, which is over in this corner, because you have to have it in the back of the shot, like that's the whole point, right? Is it was from a documentary we shot down in the Dominican Republic called Return to Esperanza. And Esperanza means hope. It's an organization that does micro loans and micro lending for female entrepreneurs in the Dominican. They didn't want to give it to men because as guys, if somebody gives us money, what do? We go buy gold chains and beepers, right? Like that's what we do. And so they decided to give it to the women because they would take the money and reinvest it back into their family and, give it to their kids. And it became generational. And we shot a movie down there. And it was just so impactful. And that's what the Emmy is for that documentary. So it's called Return to Esperanza. I believe it's on Amazon Prime still, and Return to Esperanza. If you just put it in the Google machine, it'll return some results there. But yeah, and super fun, man. I've done other TV stuff. I've hosted shows for Amazon. I've done documentaries that are on Netflix. Like it's a fun media world. And then you're like, how the hell do you get into e-commerce? Which I'm sure we'll get into next. But like, it's been a wild ride, man.
That is awesome. I definitely have to check out that documentary, and hopefully while I'm watching it, my beeper won't go off and my gold chains won't make too much noise.
Gold chain doesn't blind everyone around you.
I tucked it underneath the shirt today, so you can't really see it. But, well, that is awesome. That is awesome. So, okay, so let's go from there. Let's transition into e-commerce. So, yeah, why don't we just keep it going? How'd you get into e-commerce from there?
Yeah, that's quite a transition. Real business that I ever started, like outside of the record label, but the first like legit business I had was actually an e-commerce business, and this is 25 years ago now. It was I went to like this internet marketing seminar, and they were pitching these e-commerce stores, and I'm like, I want one of those. And so I learned all about like drop shipping, and I found this site that sold handmade hammocks in Canada. And I started drop shipping them. I had backyardhammocks.com, and I was running Yahoo and MSN ads back in the day. And, old school e-commerce, right? Yahoo ad, someone searched for a hammock, boom, went to the site. And it was amazing. And it got me into the affiliate world. And then I started doing more of the agency stuff on the media side that I was talking about earlier. And then come full circle when COVID happened. I was doing a lot of the media stuff, the agency stuff, and literally overnight, obviously, flights stopped. We stopped traveling. People didn't want to spend, $100,000 on these big productions, like budgets tightened, and we had to figure out, like, what's the next move? Like you, very similar to what you talked about earlier, is like I was super into like nootropics and high performance, and like during this time, I'm working from home, and so I dove down that rabbit hole, and I started a supplement line, which is I think in this corner, this brand right here. It's called Rise. It's a nootropic-based coffee creamer. So think like bulletproof coffee, but without the butter, because I think like that's crazy to put butter in your coffee. I've tried it. I did it for a long time, and I gained more weight than I lost. But I loved like the MCT oils. I love, a lot of the mushrooms and lion's mane. And then we had some collagen protein in there, and it was just delicious and got me back into the e-commerce world, and just realized how much I loved it, because you would sell a physical product, it would get into someone's hands, they would use it, they'd shoot you an email and be like, Greg, I just tried your creamer and it's amazing, and it starts my day there, and like that feeling is so cool. But then it comes with so many challenges, as I'm sure you talk to, folks all the time of like, inventory and budgeting and figuring out, now I got to figure out ads. Now I got to figure out like all the million challenges that come with an e-commerce business. And I realized that a lot of the people I were talking to were e-commerce entrepreneurs having so many problems, so many issues, and had an opportunity to team up with the Giddy Up folks and bring the Grommet back to life. And it was an opportunity for me to, how can I at scale help all of these brands and not just sell them another course or a coaching program or a mastermind, because that's not what they need. They don't need to spend a couple $100 on some videos to watch. They needed real help. And the Grommet was an opportunity to do that, where we help you and we teach you things and we share cool ideas and we get other entrepreneurs together, and it's like a group and it's a community and it's amazing. But also we've got millions of shoppers who will actually just buy your stuff. Right? So instead of just teaching you how to do it, how about you just launch on Grommet and we'll sell a bunch of your products? And it's just this really cool win-win where I get to take this media background, take this commerce and marketing background, and give back to this community that is, I think needs a lot of help. Like it's hard, especially the time that we're recording this, it's real hard, right? Like Zuckerberg's making it real difficult, to run ads these days. And so we need more options and opportunities out there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thanks so much for that background. Sounds like, you're not just living a really cool career life, but you've got some really cool life experience, which is fantastic. And lots of really good e-commerce experience too. So I forget how I came across the Grommet, probably over a year ago. What's really cool, so for anybody listening, if you're not familiar with the Grommet, so we work with a fair amount of e-commerce brands who are just starting up. So let's say there's an entrepreneur who's got a product idea and they go through all the stuff you're talking about, right? Where they go through, they've got an idea for, let's say, a new type of drink container, right? And like this innovative bottle where our clients has like a really cool innovative bottle where they can kind of smuggle alcohol in one part and you could have like some other stuff in another part. And it's like,
I think I know those guys.
You can make your own cocktails with it. So it's like super cool. So anyway, so a client like that where somebody's got a really cool, unique product idea and, there's, instead of just sitting on their hands and being one of the people who have an idea and never do anything with it, they're like, hey, we want to go after this. So it's amazing. There's a lot of bravery required for that, a lot of courage to go from having no experience in e-commerce to saying, I'm going to build this thing. So what do? They have to get the product designed. So they're typically going to work with a product design company. Then they have to move to manufacturing. Then once they get to manufacturing, they learn all about logistics. They probably need a 3PL. They have to get stuff shipped. If they're manufacturing overseas, they have to figure out freight to come over to the US. If they're manufacturing in the US, they still have to figure out getting product to the 3PL. Once it's there, how do they ship it to the customers? And by the way, once thousands of units have landed, how are you going to sell this? Because you don't know anything about marketing or advertising, and maybe your brother's girlfriend's cousin is a 19-year-old kid who took a marketing class. He's like, oh, here's what you need to do. And you have no idea what to do. So maybe you go to Google or Facebook and you start dropping all this money and you have to pay the tax where you spend all this money with some of the platforms. And if you don't know what you're doing, they will happily accept those funds very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's tough for, there's a lot of challenges right now in the world of e-commerce, but especially for early stage e-commerce brands. And the reason why I'm having all this buildup is because when I came across a Grommet, I thought it was awesome because basically it's a platform where new brands can launch products and there's already a welcoming group of potential customers who can upvote your product or purchase the product right from it. And from some clients on the platform, somebody we haven't worked with in a bit just hit me up last week and she was just like, oh yeah, Dan, thanks so much for the recommendation to get on Grommet because we just sold a bunch of products. We had a really good launch. I was like, hey, that's awesome. Because when we parted ways, I was like, by the way, here's one thing you should check out, on your own. And didn't know if she ever did it, but that's cool that she launched. So
love that.
That's quick overview with Grommet, but I'd love to hear from your perspective, just like quick overview of what is the Grommet for everybody listening.
Yeah, man, that is it. It's how do you go to market in 2024, right? And we want to be the first thing you think of when you go to market in 2024 is that, yes, should you be, figuring out an ad strategy? Of course. Should you be figuring out a content strategy? Of course. Should you be figuring out an Amazon strategy? Probably. But if you want that initial traction to say like, hey, man, I spent a lot of time, money, energy, effort getting this product ready, built. I'm ready to go to market. How can I validate it, get those first sales, and create some momentum? I think you read it in my bio. It was like going from undiscovered to unstoppable. It's that initial inertia, that initial momentum, because after you go on Facebook and you're like, hey guys, I launched a new product, go buy it. Then it's like, what the heck do I do now? And we want Grommet to fill that void of, we're not ready to hire an agency that's 10 grand a month. And then we got to spend 25 grand a month starting ads. And you're just like, I don't have that kind of cash or that kind of capital. How do you get that first 1,000 sales? That's where Grommet plays. And whether you're a brand new D2C brand, like just going to market for the first time, or you're an existing brand and you have maybe a new line, you have a new product, and it's untested, it's unproven. We want to be the place to do that. And the cool thing that you mentioned is we have this amazing audience that has been around for years. And so when I say years, Grommet's been around since 2008, which in internet years is like forever. And so they were very early helping makers, helping early stage inventors get products to market. They were acquired by Ace Hardware. We acquired it from Ace Hardware just over 2 years ago now. Started as a newsletter, was our first foray to bring it back to life. And then a year ago, almost to the date we're recording this, in 2 days, it'll actually be 1 year, we launched the platform that you see now, which is kind of like Product Hunt for D2C, where you can discover these new products, you can upvote them to get them higher up the charts. And by upvoting, as a shopper, you're actually rewarded with an exclusive discount code, coupon code to go and purchase that product. And it's really cool because every single week we launch 15 to 20 products that fight to get to the top of the charts. And the products that get to the top of the charts, guess what? They get more exposure. The more votes you get, the more sales you get. The more sales you get, the higher you go up the charts. The higher you go up the charts, the more votes you get, the more sales you get. And it's just, man, it has been so cool seeing these brands. We just had someone last night on one of our shows who I didn't even realize it. We're like, when did you launch this product? And they said, about 2 months ago. And I was like, holy crap, like you just went to market 2 months ago, and in 2 weeks on Grommet, they've done 600-700 orders. And just, there's no way they could do that with Meta or anything like that. And the cool thing is, the first week you're on Grommet, you don't pay anything. There's actually no rev share, no commissions. You keep 100% of the revenue that comes in, and you keep the customer. Unlike Amazon and Walmart and these other platforms, they actually check out on your Shopify site. So you get all that customer data, so you can remarket to them, and you can send them some emails, and you can get them to buy more stuff and really grow your business. And so, yeah, we think it's just, we want to fill that void of how do we go to market in 2024?
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Used to be years back, if there was a brand that wanted to have a new product launch, sort of the easy answer was, okay, just go to Kickstarter or maybe Indiegogo or, one of the larger auction-based platforms. But the challenge is, to be successful on any of those platforms today, you need to do a ton of marketing in advance. You can't just launch a product and expect to be super successful. You need to have a list. You need to have people already excited for it. And so at that point, it's kind of like, well, why don't you just start selling? Because you're going to have to do all this stuff anyway, right? Like, why don't you just take that ad spend and push it into your Shopify store, or build brand and then go to retail, or whatever that is. Yeah, it does seem, and I've gotten direct feedback from clients, and we've seen this, where you can actually sell units without dropping lots of money and posting it on the Grommet platform. So we love that you're helping out the little guys and brands that are launching a new product to get the word out there and to get some initial traction. So speaking of that, because you are seeing, you're seeing lots of different products launch, some obviously are doing better than others, like any platform. What do you see as being certain attributes of products that have done well versus maybe some products that have fallen flat?
Yeah, so the two things that immediately come to mind are products that do the best on the Grommet, especially early stage brands, are founder or maker led, and they are front and center in their business. They're not hiding behind the curtain. They are out there being like, I created this product. This is why I created this product. This is the problem that I solve. This is why I do it. This is why I'm, sweating blood, sweat, and tears over this business. And they are taking folks on the journey with them. There are some amazing brands in the Grommet community doing this. SubSafe is one of them. They ended up getting a big deal on Shark Tank from Mark Cuban and Charles Barkley. But almost every day she's like, here's the truck that's coming, into our warehouse, and we're unloading it, and here's the inventory, and here's the first look at the new color, and just again taking people on this journey with them. And you fall in love with the person almost as much as you fall in love with the product. The product obviously has to solve a problem that you have in your life, or a need or a want, but it's like, with all the products that are out there in the marketplace today, and now we see it, we have TikTok Shop, we have Temu, we have all of these like knockoff, very cheap vendors out there. Do I trust who I'm buying this product from online? If I'm going to take my wallet out and put my credit card in this weird internet website, right? Do I trust that the product is going to come as advertised, that it's not just going to be in a brown box from China and I'm going to open it and I'm like, is this the right product I ordered? Is this the one I ordered? You know, being a founder or a maker or someone who is out in front of your business is the number one way to build trust with an audience. Why do we watch Shark Tank? It's because we fall in love with the people who are pitching their stories about why they created their product. Like, and then we're like, oh, and yes, that's a cool product, I would buy it, right? But it's the story behind it. So I think in those early days, getting in front of your brand, bringing people behind the scenes, taking people along for the ride is one of the most important things that you can do. The second thing that I'm going to say, develop assets for your business. The brands that have, that do the most have great photography, have great videos. If you are going to spend money early in your business, I can't recommend it more. That is where I'd be spending the time, the money, the energy, the attention. I mean, this thing is great, right? Like the phone, right? Like, are you shooting, product videos on a regular basis? Are you doing, and if you can't afford UGC and people to do then it's you, right? But the better the asset and showing people using your product, enjoying your products. A great example, there's this really cool, man, we just did them yesterday. It was a shower curtain product. I got to find it. Such a cool product. It keeps your shower curtain to your wall so the water doesn't spill over in your bathroom. But there's literally just a picture of the thing. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. It's just a white circle. I'm like, why don't you have gorgeous bathrooms? Like, call a real estate agent who has a listing in like $1 million home and be like, hey, can I just sneak in the bathroom really quick and like take pictures in this awesome bathroom and take like amazing images? So now I'm like, I get it. I can see myself using that product. We have so many amazing dog products that they show the dog happy and outside and smiling, eating the dog treat instead of just a picture of the dog treat. I want to know that are dogs happy when they eat this dog food or this dog treat or, what? So I think developing those assets that can transpose the person looking at it to be like, oh yeah, I get it. I want that product. I can see myself using it. This is how to use it. To me, like those are the two big things. Be in front of your business, be front and center, and two, have assets that really show people what your product's all about.
I love it. When we're onboarding clients and helping them build a brand story, it is so much easier when we can talk about the founder and when the founder had a good background story that ties into product development. If it's just a case of somebody had an idea and they want to make some money in e-commerce and thought it was cool and that's kind of it, it's like, okay, we can figure out some, unique selling points. We can build a story, but it's not going to be as strong as somebody who's dealing with a pain point for years and they went through the struggle and they finally built this thing and they went through years of testing and finally they are giving birth to this product and the emotion is there. And I love that, you've got the example of the owner, operator, founder showing the behind the scenes because it sort of seems right. I kind of look at e-commerce right now where you've got these giant platforms, right? And Amazon has been going down this path for a long time. And now Temu and other large overseas platforms where, Shein with kind of very low quality apparel manufacturing, where you've got these sellers who are just selling a product and there's no story around it, and they're just going after unit economics and trying to sell as inexpensively as possible. And is there a market for that? Of course. But then you've got this other side where it's this brand connection. And, want to, I think a lot of people, everybody's a little bit different, but a lot of people want to associate with the brands that they are using. And they want to connect and support founders of businesses because every business, it's like their own little hero journey. And, we see it all the time with early stage product developers where there's a lot of challenges. So when they can go through that journey and come out on the other side successful and consumers can support them, that's amazing. Like that's where commercialism and capitalism is really great. It's not just great for, the business owner, but it's also for the customers who have supported them along the way. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that. So what have you seen? Are you connecting with brands? So as they're launching on the platform and they're seeing success, you mentioned brand story being super important. Is there anything else after they launch on Grommet and let's say they see, I've gotten traction with this. I know that there's a market for my product. I know that there's something here. We're already selling, in the example where you mentioned they sold hundreds of units within a couple weeks. What are they doing after that? What is the next step? So if you're, for anybody listening now, say they've got a new product idea, they launch on Grommet and they're thinking, okay, what's after this? Once I get some traction, what's the next step? What do you see as brands who are succeeding? What are they doing?
Yeah, so there's multiple things that we recommend to them post-launch. One is talk to the people you just got. And this isn't rocket science. This isn't something that brands probably haven't heard before. But if we just sent you 300-400 customers in a week, are you emailing them? Are you asking for reviews? Are you asking for them to do reorders depending on what the product is, right? So Everyday Dose, the drink you're drinking right now, well, probably 20 days after they purchase, they should be getting another email hey, it's time to reorder another bag, right? Are you leveraging the people that you already have in your world? That's email, that's SMS. There are millions of experts out there that can help you out with that. But if you're not, especially if you're Shopify, just connect to Klaviyo and boom, have these things in place. I think that's the easiest thing that you could possibly do. The second thing is obviously if you have additional SKUs, well, we want to get them on Grommet and let's keep the train rolling. On Grommet itself, we have additional opportunities. If you do well during that launch week, we're going to keep putting you in our newsletters, right? Because now after launch week, we do earn commission on sales that we generate, and we're in the business of making money like everybody else, right? So if you sell a bunch of stuff, we're going to keep selling your stuff. And then we also have a really cool partner program where we have some of the biggest publishers in the world who are running articles that are the 15 weird pet gadgets you can only find on the Grommet, 15 weird. And these are some of the biggest publishers on the face of the planet that are running these ads that are driving hundreds and hundreds of more sales, which is why launch week is so important at Grommet. On your own though, when you see the stuff that we're doing, right? So the ads that we're putting in our newsletter, the copy that we're running in our newsletter, things like that, if you know that worked and that was successful, well, let's double down on it, right? So potentially an ad that was run in the Grommet where there was a headline, maybe 2 lines of copy, and there was an image. That's a meta ad, right? That's an ad that you can be running in a different channel. Let's start testing the waters. Let's reinvest some of the money that we just got in these sales, and let's double down on that. Let's also, I think, especially if you have more time than money, right? There's 2 options. You have more time than money or you have more money than time. If you have more money than time, hire the agency, throw money at Zuckerberg and all the other platforms. But if you have more time than money, I still believe that partnerships are the best way to go on the face of the planet. And there are so many untapped opportunities. Grommet, I look at it we're a partner, right? That's in one instance. But if you sell dog products, who are all the people that have dog communities that you can go jump into? And this is basic 101 stuff that I've been doing for 10 years. But if you've never done it before, it's brand new. Go to Facebook and look for all the Facebook dog communities. Look for a local one. Upka dog owners, Longwood dog owners, Winter Park dog owners, Winter Park, who's the admin of that group? Hey, Dan, I just saw you're an admin of the Winter Park Dog Club and you've got 400 members. Do you think we can maybe do a webinar or a Facebook Live to your group? And I can teach them about three ways that your dog can live healthier and longer. And at the end, I'd love to talk about my really cool Tucker CBD oil for pets. And if we happen to make any sales, I'll give you 50% of all the sales or 30% of all the sales. What if you did one of those a week, right? And now you didn't pay any money up front. You got introduced to a brand new audience. You created an asset, a piece of media. So this podcast that you and I are doing today, it's a great use of my time, A, because I get to blab about all the stuff that I love talking about. You're an awesome dude, and we've connected, and it's been super fun. But now I have this piece of media that I can email out to people. I can send it to people. Hey, you want to know more about Grommet? Check out the Shopify Happy Hour podcast, man. This thing is awesome. Here's a minute clip where I actually said something smart that I want to repurpose, and I'm sharing that on YouTube. So imagine if you do one of these live streams every single week. Are there podcasts out there in your community? So these partnerships to me is so untapped because that guy running the Apopka dog group, you know how many times he's gotten hit up to do something like that? Never. Ever. He's never gotten asked that. And he's cool. And you're going to pay me to do this? Because I don't make any money running the Apopka dog group. And so those to me are just ways to continue to create that initial inertia and that initial momentum, get through your first 1,000 pieces, your first 2,000 pieces, your first 5,000 pieces. And by doing things like this, by word vomiting, you start to figure out, oh, when I said this or when I answered this question, we made more orders. When I talked about our blue color, we sold more. When I talked about this feature, no one cared, right? Like it was crickets. Now that's ad angles. Now that's an email that you can send out. Now that you're starting to learn just by actually going out there and doing it. So hopefully that little rant there made sense, but it's such an untapped opportunity. If you have more time than money, that I would be doubling down on like every single day.
I love that. So there's a couple of things I want to pull out of that. So first off, I've been in digital marketing a long time. You've been in the digital world for a long time. It's easy for people to just think digital all the time. But the challenge is when we're in a digital world and we're only just running, let's say, paid advertising, you're missing an important feedback. Think back in the day before MySpace, which was a fantastic platform back in the day. I've actually saw somebody else post about that today because of the Google monopoly suits and how they were pushing down MySpace and the ratings, but that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, back in the day, you would have a conversation with somebody. You would sell in person, or you would sell one to many, but still in person. And you could see what messaging would resonate immediately. There was an immediate feedback loop. Did certain words you say, were there certain phrases or hooks that got the audience's attention? And now you can do that with, CTRs and, engagement rates on video, but there's nothing that's going to beat that in-person selling. So by doing the webinar in front of like a Facebook group or some type of one-to-many sale, if it's an in-person group, that's amazing. The feedback you're going to get is going to be so invaluable. And then you can take that and pull that and weave it into the rest of your marketing. And so that's one thing that I think is fantastic, is just getting that sort of in-person one-to-many feedback. Then the other thing is, you talked about investing in assets early on. You also talked about content as being important and repurposing it. I think that's a missed opportunity for a lot of people. A lot of people, they'll spend time generating an asset or building some type of marketing creative, and then they use it once and that's it. And it's like, no. You just built this thing. Let's say if you're working with an influencer or a content creator and they create some content for your brand and they push it out. That's the beginning. How the real work happens, where you now have to amplify that as long as your agreement allows for it. You have to amplify it on your organic. You have to send email out with it. You have to send it out on your SMS. You have to promote it on your website. Are there certain images you can leverage where you can now put it on your post-purchase insert to show it as some type of social proof? Like, do you build a social wall on your website where it's all the testimonials from different content creators or customers? So once you have one piece of content, like, you need to repurpose the crap out of that, because the hardest part is getting it, but then you've got to use it in as many places as possible, especially for early stage brands where they need to be hyper efficient with their marketing spend and with any spend for content creation. So I think those are fantastic tips. So let's keep the rants going.
I want to go deep on this really quick, because this is my favorite thing to talk about on the planet, is like media, content, all of that. It's also why I think being a founder-led brand is so important, because then you don't have to have the influencer and the contract. And look, there's a time and a place for influencers. They're great. I love it. But in those early days, if you can I love creating a show that's repeatable and that's recurring, but that also feeds multiple purposes. So I'll go back to the dog example. Is every week, can you interview a dog owner, right? Someone who just has a dog. And we just want to talk about your pet journey and how much you love your dog and all of this. Even better if they're a customer of your product. So you're just, and you bob it and you weave it in. Like, it's just one question maybe that you ask in a 20-minute interview. But now you have a format. So every week, you have to do an interview. It's 20 minutes. It's on the calendar. You're searching for this person. You're sending your emails out. Hey, if anybody wants to be interviewed about, how much they like Tucker's Gold, just let me know. And now you have this 20-minute show that you have, which could be a podcast, be on YouTube. It can be on your blog. It can be on your website. You pull clips from that. You got probably a testimonial from that, because no one's going to get interviewed and tell you your product sucks, right? They're going to be like, Greg, man, yeah, I love Tucker's and it was awesome and blah, 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 blah. Well, now you have a testimonial that you can pull out and use. And so you've used this one piece of media for 4 or 5 different purposes. Now that's an email. Hey, make sure you guys should go check out the new episode that I just did with Dan. And then next week, hey guys, check out the new episode. Like, now you have, because everyone goes, well, what do I write in my email? Well, just send them to the thing you just made, right? What do I post on social? A clip from the thing you just made. What do I post? Like, the thing you just made, right? And you continue to use that over and over. In a 20-minute interview, you could have 3, 4, 5 short form clips. And so I love finding what is the format that you can create that is going to like stampede and create a snowball for you that is going to cover all those. Look, we're busy as founders. I don't have time to, well, I got to create a TikTok just for TikTok, and I have to create this, and I have like, how about once a week for 20 minutes, you just do an interview show, or you just do whatever your thing is, and then repurpose the hell out of it. To me, that's the ultimate jam that knocks off all of those dominoes in your content side and creates that asset that you can continue to roll with. And yeah, anyway, I'm such a fan of that. And I think that so many early stage brands don't do that enough. And you realize that, man, if I just did this, if I did that every week for a year, I'd have 52 episodes. If I did 4 clips from each of those, I'd have 200 short form pieces of content. If I did that for 2 years, I've got 100 episodes. How many of your competitors have 100 videos on YouTube, have 400 to 500 videos on TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts? It snowballs and compounds so fast, and you will be light years ahead of what everyone else is doing. And that's a really simple strategy. That's simple, doesn't mean that it's easy, right? But it's a simple strategy for early stage brands that have limited funds. Dude, Zoom, it's free, right? Like jump on Zoom. You don't have to, like, we're using something fancy right now. We're using Riverside, but what is that, like 30, 50 bucks a month? Like it's not super expensive, right? And now you have like Descript and these AI platforms that can repurpose your content for not like 100 bucks a month. You can have your whole content farm, you know, from digital tools doing this for you. And so anyway, I could talk about media and content all day. I nerd out about it. And I think it's just a missed opportunity for these new brands.
You know, I hear from clients and potential clients when we talk about this stuff, you know, time is an easy excuse, right? It's an easy excuse to say I don't have enough time. It's kind of like not going to the gym, or, you know, name another priority in life, and it's like, I don't have time. But it's like, you live once, you got to make time for this stuff.
You do.
I think it comes down to, you know, time is an easy thing for people to say. I think it also comes down to fear. A lot of people are nervous about being on camera, on video, promoting it, being promotional. And I think that throws a lot of people off. I think the other thing is the compounding interest you're talking about, which is 100% I'm on board with. It's like, pick a habit and do that thing over and over again, and then look back a year or 2 years later and see how much value that was. But people don't see it when they're starting out. They want the quick fix, right? And they want the meta ad that they think is going to get them to a 5x ROAS within the first week of running it. And all of a sudden they spend $100 and they get $1,000 or $500 and they just keep reinvesting. It's like, yeah, you know, things aren't exactly like that. There's a lot of stuff that has to go into marketing, especially paid advertising, that where you need to get the whole machine running. And it doesn't happen in a week or two. It takes a while for that stuff to get dialed in. So organic content like you're talking about is super important. Even if you're hiring the agency to run paid advertising, having that organic engine up and running can just amplify that. And what's really nice is brands can leverage organic content. And, you know, Gary Vee talks about this a lot, where it's like, run a lot of organic content and then find the stuff that pops, where you see the standout performer, and then amplify that. So you can leverage organic as kind of a testing engine to amplify your other content, which is, yeah, I think that's awesome. So I love the idea. And what you're talking about where it's repurposing is, you know, that's what's cool about starting with video, because you can start with long form video, you can pull it into short form, you can transcribe it, you can run it in all these different ways. So I love the idea of doing that, you know, weekly interview or a webinar where you're just creating long form content, and then you can chop it up, slice and dice it, like shoot once, edit, you know, spend a few hours, like, or ideally have somebody do this who is an expert in it. And then next thing you know, you'll have, you know, 50 pieces of content, and that can take care of your content for the week. And then you can focus on other things. Okay, so lots of awesome tips there. So I know you're given a lot of different strategies for early stage startup brands, but let's see if there's any others we can tease out of you. So if you were starting at the beginning with a new shop business and you wanted to go from 0 to your first $1 million in revenue on a shoestring budget, and I'm sure lots of clients are coming to the Grommet because they're in that phase where they want to grow quickly, but they don't have large budgets. How would you do it? What would your framework look like?
Man, we really talked about a lot of it, which would be And so the interesting thing, so these sunglasses over here behind me, so this is my 11-year-old son. We started this business about a year ago. So I'm literally in Shopify every day building that business with him. In addition to helping so I'm in the trenches. I do this. And so we create content every single day, right? Like he creates a video, we get it up, we share it. Like that is our number one strategy, is organic social content. And that drives the majority of what we're doing. We take the best ones, we turn it into paid, and we run paid. The second thing that we've done, and I already talked about this, is partnerships. But what we've done is we have a sunglass brand, it's for athletes. So we go to we're in Florida. We go, and you guys have these in North Carolina too. We go to a lot of minor league baseball games, and we go to top prospects who are on the rise, and we get glasses into their hands. And we get them into their hands. He takes pictures with them. First round draft pick for the Cincinnati Reds. First round draft pick for the Detroit Tigers. First round draft pick for the Philadelphia Phillies. They're all, it's so cool, because it's a great time for him, right? Like he has a great time doing it because he's like, I get to meet my heroes, and instead of me like begging them for an autograph, I'm like, hey, I brought you something. And they open it up and they're like, oh my God, they put them on immediately, right? Now they're wearing them. He takes the picture, boom, now we got Instagram content, we got a page for the site. They share it on their Instagram, and like that has, again, that's the partnership. That's all it is, right? It's what I talked about earlier. It's finding the communities and find the partnerships from that side. And then we're leveraging like sales channels, right? So things like Grommet, things like Amazon, things, the places that we're going to be in. And those are the three kind of pieces that we look at. The other thing that we haven't talked about that I think is the big multiplier to get to that $1 million number is offer strategies. And I think this is very underlooked at for an early brand. They're just like, I have this box of stuff and it's $25, right? Like that's not an offer. And that's not going to get you to that million as quick as possible. It's like, yeah, I got a box of stuff for $25, but you can get 3 of them for 60 and get free shipping. And now I've almost tripled my average order value, and I'm going to get to that million much, much quicker. So with everything that we do, we have, sunglasses are, $39 a piece, or they're 3 for $100. Almost everybody takes the 3 for $100. Well, guess what? That got us cash quicker. It gets more inventory out the door. We're turning inventory faster. We're able to go reorder more inventory faster. And so your offer strategy and how you can increase your average order value needs to be at the top of your list as early as possible. The easiest way to do that is through bundles. And I get asked all the time, they're like, Greg, I just have one SKU. How do I create a bundle? You put more of the same SKU in the bundle, right? Like it's not rocket science. It's like, for us, it's like, well, we have different colored glasses and stuff, but it's like, get more glasses. Like I learned this in the supplement industry. And the supplement industry, you try to get people on auto ship, auto bill. So like everyday dose, like they have 2 models. One is, let's get you to buy it every month, and it's just auto bill. Every month you get charged $30 a month, and they send you a bag of the product. But what you find out is like, all right, the average customer only sticks around for 3 months. So what if, instead of getting them on auto bill and they cancel after 3 months, what if I can get them to buy a 6-month supply right now, right when I got them? So let me sell 6 tubs of Rise up front. Let me get all the cash up front. I don't have to worry about them canceling and then using a rebill and all this. Like, let me just get the 6 months up front. I get more cash. I get more inventory out the door. That is the figuring out your offer strategy and how you increase average order value and turn your inventory faster, to me, is the fastest way to get to $1 million. And I think that most early stage brands are just like, well, I just created a widget and it cost me $10, so I'm going to sell it for $30. So I want a 3x margin, right? Like that's not a strategy, right? That's just like, that's napkin math. And so to me, that is underlooked, underutilized, and that's what's going to get you to those dollar points faster. And it's going to allow you to go on that Facebook Live or that webinar or whatever it is and be like, I have a special offer just for Dan's audience today. Because you guys are listening today, look, we usually sell these sunglasses for, $40 a piece. You could go to the website. You could buy it for $40 right now. But for fans of Dan, we have a coupon code. It's called Fans of Dan. And you can get 3 pairs for $100. So you're saving so much money by hanging out with us. Now you got people stoked, you got people excited, and you're making more money for the same sale that you were going to get at the end of the day. I'm also I love doing webinars and selling. So I'm a salesperson at heart, but I think that you have to figure that out in order to get to that dollar amount faster.
Dropping tons of knowledge. I love that you are helping your son learn about business and you guys are bonding over it. That's wonderful. So what is the name of the brand for people at home who'd be interested in some of the sunglasses? So
it's Arete Shades, Arete Shades.com. It means excellence, but it really means being the best version of yourself moment to moment to moment. And as an athlete, that's what we want to be, right? We want to be the best version of ourselves right now when it matters. This play, Not the next play, not the past play. This play is the only one that matters. And so every time you put your shades on, it's a reminder to be the best version of yourself, moment to moment to moment. So super cool, and we're having a blast with it.
I love it. I love it. We'll link to that in the show notes for sure, along with some of the other products that we mentioned in this. And let's move a little bit away from e-commerce and talk about some just general like life tips and other fun stuff. So what's one thing in life that you do better than most people, and how do you do it? And this could be anything from cooking eggs or, drawing or gifting during the holidays or anything. What's one thing that you're just like naturally good at, and how do you do it? What's your secret of success with it?
Man, it's funny. I've done a couple shows today, and like I have this ability to speak on camera, on cue, unprompted, and it's something that I've done forever. It's like the media side of just like, hey, there's these scissors. Can you create a script for us? And I'm like, all right, cool. So, hey guys, have you ever had a problem with like, and I can spit that out in like 2 seconds. And they're like, I've been banging my head for weeks doing this, and you just got on camera and pitched my product better than anybody else on the planet, than we could. It's just I love sharing products with people and ideas with people, and like being that I will be your champion. I will be your salesperson. I will hype you up better than anyone else. And it's just something that I love to do. It came naturally. Like I didn't go to school for it. I didn't go to a class for it. I just like, I can see what they can't, because they have these like blinders on of just like, no, it's just a scissor, it just cuts. I'm like, no, it doesn't. You know what it really does is it creates the thing that hangs and is happy birthday, and they wake up and they see it, and the next morning they're like, how did you just think of that on the fly? And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, it's just, I see it, So I don't know. That's a fun one that comes to mind.
Great, awesome. So you're going straight to like end of like final benefits that bring out the emotional side and not just the feature that people are looking at. Is that sort of what I'm trying to tease at?
And I think the ability to do it on camera, because we talked about it earlier. I think you said it. It's like people are scared. There's a little bit of fear. There's a little bit of, I'm just like, man, go to that camera with confidence. Like become like, I do this. It's called the ego equation, that most people's ego is greater than their mission or their vision. And I'm like, you have to flip it, because once you care so much about the outcome and why you created the product, it's why you talked about earlier, like having that founder story, that brand story. When you believe in that so much, you're like, my hair is a little bit out of place, so I can't record today. Like, who cares if your mission is up here? You have, when you care more about your hair, like that's an ego problem. Like you have to flip it. So being on camera and just having the utmost confidence in that what I'm saying right now is going to benefit the person on the other side. Like, I don't know. I love doing it. And I think I'm better than most people at it. It's like my own confidence in my own abilities.
Well, you're killing it here. And what's great is it's completely aligned with your mission at the Grommet right now, where you can hype up other brands and get really cool products into the world. So that's fantastic. Okay, so now we're going to move on to speed round. So each answer about 30 seconds or less, and we'll just run through a few of these. So what's one of your most recommended books?
There are two. Marketing to the Affluent by Dan Kennedy. I think people need to learn how to sell to people that actually have money. And then I love everything from Stephen Kotler. And that's what we talked about earlier, flow state stuff, right? So he's got a really good book. It's something, The Rise of Superman. I think it's all about like X Games, extreme sport athletes, and how they lock into the flow state so fast, and how other people can do it too. I love that book.
Awesome. What's an under the radar product or brand you've used and liked, but most people don't know about?
Every single product on the Grommet. Man, there's so many cool ones. I have to like think of something like right off the top of my head. I am in love with this brand right now, KNKG. They make bags and backpacks. They are under the radar. They are so cool. I literally just have boxes of them like right behind me. I just bought 2 new duffel bags, so I'm about to do a ton of traveling. I wear the backpack every day. KNKG, awesome brand.
Fantastic. What's one thing you'd love to see Shopify improve?
Oh, man. I know they just made some updates to it, but the cart page, I would love more flexibility in the cart page. Like, I want to be able to do more in the cart. I want to be able to do, I know they've added some abilities to do like upsells and things like that, but I want bump offers. I want to customize the cart. I want more control over the cart.
Awesome. All right, this is the last for the speed round. What's one tip you use to stay motivated?
Man, it's easy. It's the family. right? Like I got 3 noisy kids like right behind me. Like that's why I do what I do. And it's why like I wake up every day is like I want to give them a good example. Like I work out every day in the backyard. It's right on the other side of this. And I work out at home because I want them to see me doing it. They see me doing these videos and like all this stuff, running the business with my son. It's like I want them to see it in action every day. So, and I know they're not going to get it today, but over the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, they're going to be like, man, like that was a really good place for me to get grounded and learn about life. So yeah, the family, that's easy.
Being the example. Fantastic. All right. So Greg, where can people connect with you to learn more?
Yeah, so myself is just at Greg Rollett on all the socials, LinkedIn and Twitter is where I'm most active in like the D2C kind of space. If you want just cute baseball photos of my kids, it's at Greg Rollett on Instagram. And then thegrommet.com. Love for you guys to check it out. Not just the product side, but if you have a product, we'd love to launch it on there if you are a Shopify brand, which you probably are because you're listening to the Shopify Happy Hour. And then I think the biggest thing for me, and I mean this, is if you learned anything today that Dan said or I said, screenshot this and share it on social. It's like the number one thing that you can do. And also leave a review. Like you got to leave reviews of podcasts. But if you're like, hey man, I love that nugget, screenshot it right there, tag Dan, tag myself, and let us know what you learned from this episode. That's like the biggest thank you like on the planet is like, hey, I learned so much from this that I want to share it with other people.
It goes back to that feedback, right? Getting that feedback in the digital world. So that's an awesome tip. Thanks for sharing that. So Greg, thanks much for first off helping early stage e-commerce brands get discovered, being their hype person like you're talking about, sharing your expertise and insights with our audience, also being a really cool example for your family and everybody listening to this, and for joining us on the Shopify Happy Hour.
Dan, thank you so much for having me, and happy Hour to everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.